Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel in the entire universe or multiverse, if you believe in such things. So what I want to talk about today is straight up law of attraction type stuff. So when you have your point of attraction, okay, your point of attraction is a centralized point of focus, basically focused awareness, right? So if I am thinking a thought, my point of attraction is based on the thought that I'm thinking. So I can think I'm happy, I'm wealthy, I'm in my car. I have total control over the thoughts that I think. So when I'm looking at controlling the external reality, what I want to understand is that because of my electromagnetic nature, magnetic nature, what I am entertaining with my point of attraction in my electromagnetized field is going to draw people, places, and circumstances to me that are on the same, what you would call, wavelength as the thought and the emotion that my point of attraction is focused on, okay? When you begin to understand that anything you want externally, you may have it reversed to where you think if you get that thing will shift your point of attraction to a thought and an emotional state that is better. But that's backwards. Because you're a magnet, your ability to change that point of attraction is where your entire leveraged power position lies. Meaning that creating your reality is really about curtailing your thought process. When you think from a thought process, supplementary information from things like fourth dimensional thinking and living in the wish fulfilled from law of assumption is useful, because anytime you have negative emotion or unwanted emotion, it's a simple indicator that your point of attraction is not in a state of fulfillment, okay? So if you have what you want, you feel good. If you don't have what you want, you feel bad. So what happens is you feel bad and you see the reflections of that feeling bad outward, and you go, oh, well, no wonder I feel bad. Look at this environment, right? Not knowing that the precursor, the causation of the coordination was preceded by a vibrational, emotional grid that you had created internally and then magnetized your reality around, right? This is why it's so important to understand these things, because when you try and go and fix something externally, but you have a magnet internally that is pulling the same circumstances to you, no matter what you do externally, that magnet is still inside of you, okay? So you have to learn how to demagnetize anything that you don't want. That reorients you back to the law of assumption, Neville Goddard lecture, binding and loosing, okay? So if you understand that you have magnetic properties, what is a magnetic thing? It attracts, right? So it attracts or it repels. When you have magnetized states, what you want to understand is that the way that you demagnetize something is by shifting your point of attraction, okay? Because if you have something, say you're looking at point of attraction like a radio station. You have 99.1 and then you have 99.2, okay? So you're on 99.1. 99.1 has a lot of good things, but there's some things that are not good. Oh no, you always get bad coffee in 99.1, but you want to be a person who always gets good coffee. And for that, you need to be on 99.2. Well, the way to get to 99.2 is to change the dial. The way not to get to 99.2 from 99.1, where the bad coffee is to focus on the bad coffee. Put your point of attraction back on 99.1 and be upset that you're not at 99.2. You just go to 99.2. Does that make sense? It took me a long time to understand that, and what will hold you back from that is thinking that you need to do something to deserve something, but it's a fallacy because your point of attraction is always under your control. So when you don't take responsibility for the power that you have to move your point of attraction, then you're giving power away to something else outside of you, which is a bad idea, especially if you do it unconsciously. That's what forms external gods, right? Like you are just so engrossed by this thing, but you have the ability to outthink anything because you have the ability to change your point of attraction through your focus, right? So when you have focus, it's just selective ignorance, which matches up with binding and loosing, meaning that if I'm binding to a state, I'm emotionally tethering myself to it. I'm feeling into the state. I'm feeling into the wish fulfilled, right? If I'm loosing myself, I'm denying that I identify with that state, and I'm also emotionally withdrawing and mastering total indifference towards the subject, meaning that some crazy shit can happen in front of you and you're like, doesn't matter, I'm this, right? Doesn't matter, I'm this. So when you have that capability to bind and loose yourself from states, you now have access to your free will, okay? Your will is freed up because you are now in a state of unconditional love, which means that without conditions, you can think about things that you love. Because if you have to think about things, or you're in a state where you can only think about things happening the way that you want them, if certain external conditions are met externally, now you're a slave, right? So you don't want to be a slave, you want to be the master. You want to be able to change that point of attraction and have the world respond to who you're being in wake of having to change and modulate yourself all the time to accommodate whatever the world is. Because the world is just a printout of what you've been thinking and feeling through properties of that magnetized being that you are, right? That's why people say life flows through you. When you look at your body, if you were to die, right? What's the body do? It's got no energy. So you are the power source of your reality, right? So you're the source emanating through it, and through your awareness, which allows you to focus on something or to let it go and not focus on it at all, right? You just let it drift out of your magnetized sphere, right? In many ways, this makes you the center of your reality, but that's a good thing, right? Because if you can't take care of yourself and you can't get what you want for yourself, then you really can't help anybody else, right? If your cup doesn't runneth over, then you don't have any extra to spare. So understanding that your point of attraction is under your control, and anytime you have a negative emotion, it's really just a guardrail in the same way that if you're driving on the highway and you hit the road strips and it starts to rumble. You just acknowledge and clock that different negative emotion as a guidance point, a pivot point, if you will, that allows you to bounce into a wanted point of attraction through virtue of being able to change your thought. So one thing you want to understand if you are having trouble changing your point of attraction, because until you have complete control over your thought and your emotions, you really don't have control over your ability to create your reality. Because when you have vibrational grids, emotional states of being, and you are stuck in certain ones, you're limited, right? The biggest limiter of all is fear. So the best thing you can be is absolutely fearless, right? So when you start to think as if you were fearless, what'll happen is you'll change that point of attraction. You'll become that person instantaneously, but you will also begin to release all the old fear constructs that held you back, right? And that process can take a little bit of time because if they trigger you, they reinsert your awareness back into that state, and then you have to withdraw again. So when you understand how to tactically withdraw your attention, right? I don't like the word surrender because surrender is for babies. All we do is win. So when you have the term surrender, right, what you're really doing is you're just like in the same way those traps that trap raccoons where they like have a little hole in a box and there's a treat in there. The raccoon puts its hand in, grabs the treat, but it can't pull its hand out because the treat and the hand are too big for the hole. So if the raccoon was legit, the raccoon would let go of its hand and then pull itself out. That's how you operate with unwanted states, emotions, and thoughts. you don't re-engage with them, you don't put the tuner back to 99.1, you open your hand and you release and you let it go because you're a big fucking magnet. So when you don't have magnetic affinity for something, it can't stick to you. You become indifferent towards it, right? It's like a clingy ex-girlfriend. You just go, I'm gonna block this chick, right? Or clingy ex-boyfriend, I'm gonna block this dude. So you just block that shit, right? And then you allow what you want to be magnetized through you, through your point of attraction. How do you allow? You don't contradict. I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. Oh, remember the one time when you were not, you don't even have those thoughts. That's what non-resistant thought is. Non-resistant thought is not having a counterbalance between your thought forms, okay? If you have debates in your head, that is pure resistant thought, which essentially is predicated on you not making a decision about what you want because you're still oscillating between 99.1 and 99.2. You go all in by just shifting the dial to 99.1 and becoming so indifferent to anything that's not that your literal awareness cannot be hijacked. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I know you did. This is the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. Feel free to check out the link tree for coaching. And the most important thing, go conquer. See you in the next one.